Indian Creek Trail update. As you're all aware, gave up our option agreement on the Campbell property after the problem with the ODOT grant measures not passing. We had been working with a developer who was interested in getting in on the facility on this, and they have signed the option agreement. A man by the name of Ken Francis and his partner Rico Prianto, who actually is a local resident here who owns an engineering firm. And the two of them are putting together this proposal on it. There's a reason this property has sat vacant and for sale for nearly a decade. It's a very difficult property to develop. There's a lot of different things here, urban growth boundary and wetlands, access to the site and the creek running right through the middle and such. But this group has come forward, and what they would like to do is on this side of the property here off of Brookside where the resident is, rezone this as C2, which is the same zoning over here, be able to put in probably about 30 units or so of either multifamily or some sort of a hotel geared at workforce housing. The other side, they would like to rezone as R3, which opens it up for them to be able to do a little bit more dense multifamily residential, things like fourplexes and things like that. Basically, there's a couple spots that you'd be able to develop up these corners right here. There's wetlands kind of going through here, and you'd have to access it through here. You'd also have to take an exit out here on Avalon, and which they do have an easement for. So you'd be accessing it between these two homes at the end of Broken T, and then from this side over here, and it would be very difficult. They still don't know exactly how all of that will work, but they said the only way that it will make it work is if they were to be able to go R3 to be able to make that work. So they went to the city and asked them to annex this into the city and rezone it in those two areas. We submitted a letter for the planning commission meeting, which was last Monday night. It moved through the planning commission and is now going to city council on December 9th. Many of the neighbors, both here in Avalon and the Broken T neighbor, very critical of the rezone. Especially many of them have said that they do support the trail, but they're afraid of the traffic with extra cars in the rezone and such, mostly on this section here, which is the section that's going to be very difficult to develop. The developer has said that they are willing to talk about selling this section. And so there's some neighbors that have talked about that and asked if we are interested in being a partner and helping fund and possibly being the landowners of it if we were to buy this side of it. I think that those conversations are worth having. And that way it would take away the development on that side and they would just be developing this side. But they do want our support at the meeting on December 9th, but also they are asking about us waiving the SDCs for the so this development at 30 units would bring in around $150,000. One way to look at it is instead of saying that we're waiving the fees, we could say that we are trading the fees or using them to buy an easement or buy the land or something like that. That way we're not setting some sort of precedent of waiving SDC fees for other developers and such. They've been really good people to work with so far, the developers. They just said like they're really trying to make this work, but with the construction inflation and the cost and everything like that, they're kind of on a razor's edge on whether or not they can make things work here or not. They need it to pencil out, otherwise they're going. If they walk away from the deal, the thing that's triggering the property being the trail being set aside and such is the annexation. And so if they were to walk away from the deal, the annexation won't happen, and it just goes back to sitting in private hand.
Phase 1 is those 30 units.
Yeah.
And then phase 2 is maybe possibly developing that other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But either way, if they develop, they have SDCs unless they are comparably transferred in some way.
Then we would get the trail completed.
Yes,
I mean,
if we get the trail, we'll have to complete it ourselves, but we will.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. And we also would get the trail no matter, like, if it comes through with annexation, we would get it at the point of annexation, so we wouldn't have to wait for them to go to try and develop this side or anything like that. We'd be able to get it right away.
Okay.
When annexation goes through.
Yeah.
So if you attend that, but I also would like to know what your thoughts are on the possible waiving of SDCs for this project. We're working on some sort of deal to trade SDCs for land or.
There'd have to be a deal. There wouldn't be just waiving for the love of waiving, and it would have to be that security that also meant that we did not have to purchase the additional property on that side. That could be a secondary if we so chose with the other landowners, if there's value to it. But at the same time, based upon all the numbers we've discussed before, approximately 150,000 worth of SDCs would be a comparable trade to get that trail through there.
It's a lot
Correct.
less than
Deal.
what we were,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot less than what we were gonna
Exactly.
spend to
Yeah.
get the trail through there.
Assuming that, that negotiation gives us the easement and that we want in the locations. we
C2
want.
and not the residential, right? They could rezone just one or not the other, or
Yes, they could, and they could, I think that they would have, well, I don't know if they would need to do a lot line adjustment because they are also, they're not. This thing shows the entire property, but the annexation actually is cutting out this EFU part right here. Because they would not rezone, I think this is actually outside the urban growth boundary and they can't rezone this or annex this, so this is. There's another map that shows that this part's cut out of the annexation. But there is the possibility, if like, let's say this developer walks away from it. The Campbells could decide to do a lot line adjustment and just sell the Brookside side of it and then just like continue to sit on this other side of it. In which case, no other developer is really going to want to touch it and it just sits there and we can't get access to it. So makes it,
I think it's worth it,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Oh, I
the
will,
missing link.
I'll give that feedback to developers that, it's not a formal decision yet, but I'll say that it's, the board has concurred that they are, willing to talk about doing some sort of possible trade, or